Well, hello and welcome to the Executive Leaders Network webinar, brought to you in collaboration with FlowForma. The Executive Leaders Network, or ELN, offers a broad spectrum of online and in-person events that cater to senior executives across diverse industries, encompassing a wide array of topics. To get a complete overview of our upcoming events, please visit elnevents.com. Today, we are thrilled to partner with FlowForma to present a compelling and informative webinar that delves into the digitization of construction and the importance of empowering a digital-first workforce in a fiercely competitive market. We would love to know where you're listening from. So if you would, please drop your location in the comments, the webinar chat, which you should see a button on your screen. We would just love to know where everyone is listening from. Let's see if we can see any pop up here. That would be fun to watch. And I may not even, all right. Phil doesn't have a video feed. Phil, we'll see if we can get the tech team on that. Thank you for letting us know. How about it? Anybody out there want to tell us where they're listening from? All right, Stacy's in Boston. Thank you, Stacy. We appreciate that. Rick in Florida, Craig, Kansas City. Phil's got a feed now. That's good. It's always good to be able to see what's going on. Quincy, Missouri, Massachusetts. Sorry about that. Vancouver. Nice. Well, please feel free to continue that. We would really find that interesting. Over the next hour or so, our esteemed expert speakers will explore how adopting a data-driven decision-making practice can enhance project performance, mitigate budget overruns, and enable rapid business growth. We'll also examine how leveraging technology can streamline operations, increase business resilience, and gain a competitive edge, particularly in the face of material cost increases and supply chain disruptions, something we see every day. We invite you to engage with our speakers by posting your comments and questions in the webinar chat or the stage chat, where you just let us know where you are from. And man, we got all kinds of people in there. That's really great. Thank you. Anyhow, we will monitor that. And then when we get to our live Q&A part toward the end, we will try to get to as many questions as we can. Also, make sure to have your phones ready at the end to grab a QR code that's going to be on the screen for a special offer. Then towards the end of the webinar, we're going to conduct an audience Q&A session, as I just said, and that time will be limited. So try to get them all in as you can. We want to respect your time by ending as advertised. Well, let's get to it. Joining us today is Shay O'Connor from FlowForma and our guest speaker, Mohadin Ahmed from Bouygues, who will be sharing his insights, experiences, and best practices since partnering with FlowForma. Now, to give you a bit of background, Shay has more than 25 years of experience in the technology sector. He's responsible for all commercial conversions at FlowForma and has an acute understanding of the construction industry and the challenges facing companies looking to digitize. Mohadin, or Mo as we affectionately call him, was an engineer, graduate trainee back in the day at Bouygues. He completed 4 placements before joining the digital transformation team, where he led various projects such as the rollout of Office 365 to 4,000 users. Wow. And the digitization of critical processes. And he survived that as a testimony to his determination. Mo, I don't see much gray hair up there, but I'm sure it's coming. He believes in finding solutions that offer the easiest implementation and fastest adoption, especially in today's rapidly changing business environment. Nice to get to know you a little bit, gentlemen. Shay and Mo, I'm handing off to you.
Thanks, Grant. I think I'll take Mo's share of the gray hair in this case.
Yeah, right.
Sorry. I'm Shay O'Connor. I'm head of solutions in FlowForma, as Grant was saying. I'm a long time in the industry. And FlowForma is a digital process automation platform. Now, for the uninitiated, that basically means that you can transfer manual processes and groups of tasks into a more digitized format, but you do it all without any coding whatsoever. So what does that do for you? It basically means that you can do things at pace. and it's a knowledge transfer. So all you got to do is know your process. That's kind of the starting point on all of this. We're a worldwide organization. We literally go from New Zealand over to the west coast of the States with our customer base. So we've a lot of input, a lot of experience in different time zones, different areas of the world, but it's all to do with, and in most cases, in this case, with construction. So we would see the common problems globally. You're talking about the stretches, yeah, on staffing, the stretches on materials, timelines, everything. Margins are tight. You all know this already. FlowForma has been really effective in this area because when implemented within an organization, it gives you a percentage of time back and makes you a percentage of more efficient. Now, what does that mean? All percentages count. So you get 10% back, you get 15% back. You've got the ability to do more with your time. We in general find that organizations that are facing this, the whole digitalization question and imperative, they kind of fall into three categories. So there are those that just like to buy a package off the shelf, plug and play, and whatever that package tells you to do, that's the way you're going to do it. Obviously, there's going to be gaps there. Usually, they're chunky enough gaps, could be 30% of a difference in the way you do things versus the way the product does it. But a lot of organizations would have that. Others prefer to code everything. They might have a coding team and they want to have their code of bank or their bank of coders creating bespoke solutions. Obviously, there's an overhead to that, and there's a management, and if you lose people, etc., there's an extra component there. But some organizations are comfortable with that. And then there's the third level, and that would be where we will come in, where it's the empowerment of an organization to create their own processes, because you're dealing with a no-code environment. And what no-code means is that you can create the process without any coding. You literally tell the system, these are my steps, here are my rules. It creates the forms, the digital forms automatically for you. So that third component, or that third category of customer or potential customer, are those that really want to do it their way and want to have control over it themselves. Now, we would obviously help out, get the organization up to speed, but it was one of the big factors where, when I originally met Mo a couple of years ago, when it was a case of, okay, they didn't want to, don't give me a fish, teach me how to fish scenario, right? Where it was, they really wanted to get their hands dirty. They wanted to get stuck in, but to do their own thing. Now, and we had a few conversations back in the day, Mo, and with a few colleagues as well, all about what you were trying to achieve. And you reached out to us basically because you had tried other avenues and had come to the realization, I don't want to sort of leak into what we're going to talk about, the specifics on the project, but there was very much a consensus that you wanted to control your own destiny.
Absolutely. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there around, being able to become independent, and I think where we're trying to take it is to give the power to those process owners, or to the people that would be developing or managing processes within the business. As you said, we kind of tried some other solutions, such as the Office 365 suite, and we even did a time study where we compared the time it would take to develop something within the Power Apps or the Power Platforms, and also as well within FlowForma, and the change in time was so drastic that it made sense to partner with you guys, and we're quite happy that we did, because we're seeing the benefits already, and like you said, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I think it's for me in particular, it's important that it's something that people can pick up quite quickly,
Yeah.
and you can show to someone once, and then when they do it themselves a few times, it's like, you know what, the brain is starting to move, the cogs in the mind are starting to move, and they're able to pick it up, and they can then transfer that knowledge to someone else and someone else and someone else. So that was
Yeah.
very important for us.
I think one of the big mind shifts in people's approach to this is the fact that you're doing work slightly differently. So you're now, when it's digitized, it's a repeatable thing. So it's not the hunch. It's not the, oh, what do we do here, or what do we normally do? What it is now set in stone. This is, and obviously that's adaptable, but you're aligning, especially when you've a lot of people to cater for. And I know you've had like 4,000. It's a lot of employees, a lot of heads, a lot of contributors that you need to align. And the easiest way to do that is to have a consistent approach.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and I know that was a big thing again for you guys. It's that knowledge transfer of, hey, this is our optimal way of doing it. So no matter what the process is, but and as you know, it's not only about one, it's two, it's three, four, five. That's just increase, because that percentage, as I was talking about at the start, that percentage shift in extra efficiency means that you get more time.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, we've got a couple stir it up questions, and this one's going to come to you first, Mo. How important is data within your organization?
Well, it's a loaded question. I think, as with most organizations, data is gold. It's what helps drive us to make better decisions. It's what helps us understand kind of our clients and their needs and their trends, and how we can kind of tailor our services to them. And if we look at it around kind of making better decisions, I read a quote some time ago, way back when, where someone said, the goal is to turn data into information and information into insights. And I think, good data provides us with the knowledge that we need to make better informed decisions that are not based on assumptions. You don't want to assume this is how you do something. You don't want to assume this is, the data, or the whatever it is, the value, the numerical, the amount of time something is breaking down, the material being ordered. You want to know the actual information, and this will actually lead to less wasted resources. You can't manage what you don't measure, so it's very, very important to us.
You're on mute, Grant.
I always do that so you don't hear things in the background, and I know I'm the first one that's ever done that on a call, right?
Oh,
Anyhow,
yeah.
Shay, you kind of alluded to the hunch, but Mo, I'm going to come back to you with this. How is your organization using that data to inform better decision making?
Yeah. So for us, we kind of use data in a lot of different ways. So a massive data pool for us is our CAFM system. So our CAFM system is where we log all of our jobs, our work orders, our purchase orders, our PPMs, job times, and kind of manage most of the day-to-day operational elements. So as you can imagine, just from that list, there's a massive pool of data that we have there. And we're able to analyze kind of different data sets that we have. So if I give you an example, if we have one site and this site gets about 30 to 50 jobs per day, these call outs will allow us to capture a lot of information. So for example, what the issue is, what machine is being fixed, what's broken. And then this is then compared to other sites, because then we're able to begin building a trend of what the most common call outs are, what the most common faults are, how long does it take to rectify a job, what's actually holding up a job in terms of its status. Is it waiting for materials? Is it waiting for a subcontractor to come and do something? And then with all of this information, we can then make better decisions. So whether it's stocking up on certain materials, obviously you don't want to purchase something and then it sits as dead stock in your warehouse. You actually want to kind of follow the trend and say, actually, in 6 months' time, I'm going to need this part for this, because actually that's when it's required, not today. Or if it's upskilling our staff because we're actually realizing we're calling out subcontractors more than we should. So maybe actually for this particular job that's done, whether it's excavating, whether it's fixing a machine, we need to upskill our staff or hire more technically proficient engineers, or whether it's replacing equipment altogether. But also as well, we capture data from the machines themselves and the sensors, and we're able to then analyze that and build kind of a more effective maintenance plan. And we call that kind of predictive maintenance. So again, it's, you can see that 12 sites have replaced the same item on the same machine over the last 12 months. You can then say, okay, for the next 12 sites, we need to look at that, and actually let's do it now, because it may end up, going wrong when we don't want it to go wrong.
Probably.
Exactly, which is always the case when it comes to operational work. But yeah, and then we also talk about stock levels and managing that, which is something we're going to talk about a little later. So there's various different examples that we have. And then if you want to look at it, just one more example, it's around our tenders and bidding for work. We can actually look at prehistorical data from all of our sites, the kind of packages we've offered, the kind of cost it took, the materials we needed, the services we had to provide. And that will allow us to create a more bespoke and a more tailored and accurate bid for when we're submitting for different types of work.
Nice. So Shay, I'm going to come to you. What are the first steps to becoming a data-centric organization? And, start with one process improvement idea and scale. Tell me what.
Yeah, so it is, we always say it's process first. So you got to dip your toe in. There is no, you can plan all you like. The reality is, what questions do you want answered? And you move back from that.
Okay.
So as Mo was saying, let's just even give the example of materials. If you have a proper procurement process in place, which is basically, who wants what when, and we have a client, an example of one who they avoided a pretty hefty procurement penalty because their materials requisition process was that effective. So you work backwards from that. You choose your process that's going to have an impact. Now, a massive thing, and then you elaborate on that, but a massive thing here is adoption, because you're dealing with a new way of doing work. So you include the business in it. They may have feedback for the process, different things that they may feel. You might have assumed, yeah, we do it this way. Well, no, there's a slight nuance there or a slight nuance there, and you adjust accordingly. As a result, they get buy-in. It's an ownership thing. So they feel a full ownership of the new way of doing things. First process, most important, because that is their entry point into this new way of working. Once they feel ownership and it's doing exactly what they need it to do, you can then expand on that. You go second, third, fourth, fifth. But again, it's all with a mind, as Mo has said, it's all in the mind to making those decisions, because that day-to-day work and the gathering of information on a day-to-day basis informs the greater decisions for new and other projects. You're collecting information. I say to people all the time, do you see yourself being digitized like in 3 to 5 years? They go, oh yeah, absolutely. And I say, well,
easy.
Oh yeah, we're going to be there, no problem. And you say, well, when are you going to start? Because those that are digitizing now will have 3 to 5 years worth of data. They're going to be ahead of you. They're going to be making decisions based upon historical information. So yeah, the analogy would be, they always used to say, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today.
Right.
So that's exactly the same with digitizing. You can't do it soon enough.
Yeah. How do you identify and empower processors and get the owners across the businesses to engage?
So again, that's an ownership thing. Okay. So that is, you have to have top level support. So you have to have senior support on this. If you don't have senior support, and Mo will absolutely know this, if senior support is there, it makes things a lot easier. If you are trying to get digitization into your organization and you don't have senior support, you're really fighting a very tough battle. So once you have senior support, you then include the business. Now, the example in this case, you can pick either a site or an area of the business, but you get somebody who's supportive, who sees where this will make a difference within the organization. And then you got to do it. You got to pick that first process. You get to put in, you get feedback, you make the adjustments, as I was saying, because then you get ownership. People need to feel that it's part, that it's not being forced on them. They are part of it. You get senior, then the next management level, etc., all buying into it. Everybody will buy into it. When people then see that it saves them time, makes them more efficient, they love that. The old examples, I mean, we get this. You can't believe how often we get this. I spend 3 hours on a Friday putting together a report for my customer on such and such. And now, because the data is real time, I just click that button and the report is there. I've saved myself 3 hours on a Friday, which is always after hours.
Which is going to save you untold time because you already have the data to plan ahead. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah, totally. Honestly, Grant, like one customer of ours said to me the other day, they have a health and safety process, and he said, "I can guarantee it saves the guy, one of our guys, 10 hours a week, the process, because it went from completely manual to digitized." He said, "I cannot tell management that." He says, "I'm telling them we're saving 5 hours a week because." They will be wondering, what the heck have you been doing for those, wasting 10 hours a week? He said, I can't tell them.
So let's move into some case study stuff if we can. And we'd like you to tell us a little bit how Bouygues Energies and Services. Give us some what's going on there.
Yeah, so Bouygues is kind of mainly known for its construction side of the business. So it's a household name in France. It's a family-owned business started by Francis Bouygues back in the 50s, I think it was. And then until 2021, the CEO was always the son of a son. So it's kind of gone through the generations of the Bouygues family. So some of the projects, construction projects, for our audience who are mainly in America and Canada, you may know of or may not know of, is the Port of Miami Tunnel, something that we constructed and designed and built. Also the Brackwell City Center Mall, also in Miami. And then we've got many subsidiaries. So in Canada, we have a sister company called Plan Group, which operates out of Vancouver. I know there were some people in Vancouver. So you may have seen kind of those signs around when you're driving around Vancouver. But the entity I work for is Bouygues Energies and Services. So we work in a few different areas, but our main bread and butter is facilities management. So for those of you that aren't really familiar with FM, facilities management, to put it as plainly as simple, is the management of the building, the ground and the real estate and the assets. So it kind of dives into two different areas. Hard FM, which is the management of the physical assets, and then soft FM, which is focusing on the tasks performed by individuals, so custodial services, security, and the other stuff. We also work in highways and local government, doing street lighting, building motorways or smart motorways. So smart motorways in the UK are where you have signs where they're allowed to kind of the highways, the highways government. They kind of put signs there, so warning you for accidents up ahead and stuff like that. Smart cities is a big thing. So we built the first smart city in the UK. The name which now eludes me, but I know we also built the first one in France, which was in Dijon. Also as well, EV charge points, as you know, EV is a big thing now, and with the push for reduction in internal combustion engines, that's obviously something that we've dived into. And then the final part of the piece of the puzzle is our energy division, which looks at the design, installation, and commission of solar PV farms for our clients. And then where I kind of fit in all of that is as a digital change manager. So I started off as an engineer. My background is mechanical engineering. But a graduate scheme gave me the opportunity to see that I didn't want to stay in engineering for too long. And I was able to transition to the digital transformation team. So we look at how we can use technology to aid our transformational journey. But more so for me, it's how we can bring people along in that journey to ensure that we have the best level of success and kind of sustain the outcomes as long as possible. Because as we know, the technology is digital, but the people that use it every day are human. And we need to make sure that we bring them in on that journey. And Shay, you touched on, kind of showing them the benefits of it, showing them the desire, showing them the what's in it for me is kind of what we call it. And once you have that, you're able to sustain your outcomes for longer, and you're able to actually achieve a higher level of adoption in a much shorter space of time.
Cool. What motivated you to digitize your processes, and what indicated it was time for a change?
Yeah. So for us, one of the big things was our CEO and our CEO, David Carr. He's quite in tune, and he likes to really get involved. And one of his things is always about making the lives of our employees easier. And I think that was our first motivator, is how can we simplify the mundane, manual, paper-based processes for our employees? How can we take them from spending 3 hours on a Friday to spending 5 minutes? How can we take them from taking a document and passing it around to 100 different people to then just clicking a button and it goes through a workflow? And for us and construction in general, we're kind of seen as old school, behind the curve, which is kind of the terms that I hate, because I think, we have a lot to offer. So I think, another motivator was to try and become an industry leader in transformation, in digitalization in general, and to kind of bring something which would bring value to us and our employees. And then one of the ones that really made me want to take on this project and kind of begin this process was we were running a workshop, with our operational staff to kind of understand where their pain points are, understand what could be improved for them, so we could understand where the business needs are. And there was a chap up in a hospital in Edinburgh who shared an idea where he was talking about a process that he has on site. And he said, I think, can't we automate this? Isn't there something out there that could help us, make this quicker and digitize this? And it was fairly simple, an idea that's just quite easy to kind of do. But you could see in the room, and again, it's quite sad in the industry for construction engineering. You always hear, we've always done it this way. This is the way that we do it. And that was what I started to hear from other people in the room. And I was like, the idea that he's coming up with is quite simple. He literally doesn't want to send emails. He just wants to automate his process. So that's when the wheels started turning. And, my manager at the time, she was doing a lot of research, and that's when she found FlowForma. And that's when we decided to kind of break this habit and take the decision to turn this small idea that a chap in a hospital 500 miles away from me came up with into a much wider project around process automation and digitalization. But those are the motivators for us. I don't know, Shay, if you had anything similar from other industries or other companies in terms of simplification.
Yeah, well, the big thing was the senior support element of that. It is one of the cornerstones because everybody falls into line. The biggest frustration we come across, but especially with a lot of construction organizations, is that there's a generation of people who want to improve efficiencies, but they seek senior support on it. And again, we've always done it this way is quite a common return in regards to the day-to-day operations. And they don't see the bigger picture in a lot of cases. Now, you obviously need to evangelize with some of those, but the unfortunate thing is that there's no downside to digitization. We don't know of any, especially customer of ours, but we don't know of any company who started digitization and reversed back. They don't go back to manual. They don't go back to the old way. They may change things, they may improve things, but they're always going in that forward trajectory of improving their digitization. Starting with senior support, though, is imperative. It's absolutely imperative, and you can get so much done. I would say easily twice, half the time you can get it done with senior support.
Very cool. So I think this is back to you, Mo. What did you look for in a process automation tool, and then maybe Shay can jump in on how that all fits?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, it was something which is easy to use. I think that's something that everyone will look for. And also as well something that didn't require hours and hours and hours of learning and research to build a basic process. I know there was a question in the comments around the comparison between Office 365, and to give you kind of a little bit more around that. So we had a chap in a site in the middle of England who was very familiar with the Power Platforms, but it took him 18 months of learning, because although that the Microsoft tools tell you that it's a low-code solution, he had to learn JSON and basic coding principles. But also as well, once he had learned everything, it then took him an additional 24 hours to build his process within Power Apps and Power Automate. And then when we looked at building that at the start of our Sure Start process with FlowForma, it took 6 hours for them to build something which was usable. So you could already see that you were saving, 4 times the amount, if my maths is correct, 4 times the amount of time, using just the FlowForma platform. And we went on 1-day training, 1-day training, 2-day training, 2-day training. So that was already something that showed, this is very easy to use. Scott, who was the guy that did that training as well, he was quite comfortable with it straight away. Also as well, we've got other people that have been using it as well. And again, once you show it to people, they pick up quite quickly. The second is UX and UI, and the interface has to be easy, simple. And that's what we needed. We needed something where a person could go into it, they would get a good experience, and they wouldn't get frustrated using it constantly if they were using it constantly, both from a development perspective, but also as well from an end user perspective with the person interacting with the forms that have been developed. And we needed something which was compatible on various devices. So for us, you had, we have a lot of sites where there is no signal, poor network, you're working in a basement. So we needed something where you could work on a phone and a tablet, on a laptop, but you could also work offline. And then once you went back online, it would resync and it would give that kind of update there. And then finally, we wanted a company which would understand our needs as a client and would want to work with us to achieve our goals, but also as well, we would be able to lean on their experience with something that we hadn't embarked on previously. So we've had an opportunity to work with, a wide team with FlowForma to try and build what it is we want. They spend, a lot of time with us to help us build our processes as well, because again, sometimes a lot of stuff is in people's minds. It's not on paper. It's not on a pretty Visio diagram or a flow chart. So we were able to work with the team to take that, build it, see where the pitfalls are, improve it before you digitize it, because you're never going to take something directly from paper and put it onto a digital platform. So we needed someone that would, in essence, hold our hand for a little bit until we got comfortable in that.
Cool. Any fill in there, Shay?
Yeah, I mean, there's the old way of creating process, which is to document the process, do all your swim lanes, and as most in the Visio diagram and so on and so forth, get agreement, and then to produce it. And it's only then when you produce it digitally that you see the holes and the gaps, and you have to make the changes in the system and change the workflow, etc., in the background, and all that sort of forward and back. The FlowForma methods, there is a place for that with certain processes, but not every process. And there's a huge percentage of processes where you can just create the process, as you massage it, and then it automatically documents itself, which in FlowForma it does. We would have gone through like ourselves, and full disclosure here, I used to be a programmer, so I sort of saw the difference, etc. In the background. I used to be that protector of my environment. I'm a coder, and it's that secret black box where no one can see what's going on in there except me. Where now there's full visibility, so people can use it. You don't have the requirement for code. You have that faster turnaround. Mo was saying about Scott, who did a great job, in fairness to him, over that 18-month period. But he, for example, like when we showed him FlowForma, it was like, oh no, I spent so much time doing this with code, and you've just done it there in minutes. He was just blown out. The cool thing about that was, because Scott was a business person first and foremost, he didn't have that. He didn't try to protect the code. He wanted better business results. So he went, I can see this. I can produce stuff in, the 18-month period or whatever, and maybe the next time around it'll only take a year for the next one. But if we want to do this at scale, we need something that we can get a bit of momentum with, a bit of help. I'm not always going to be around. I can be doing other things. And this was, again, the guys in Bouygues saw this and went, right, we need a platform that people can understand. It was all about removing the need for specialist skills so you can do this at pace and control. So you have to have all the control still, but because people's ideas, hey, you have an idea for a process, great, create it there in the sandbox, show me what it's like. Mo will take a peek at it and go, okay, we can improve on this, because you have different levels of expertise in the organization. Okay. The cool thing is, as Mo was saying about the UI UX, because the forms are created automatically, and even on mobile devices created automatically for the app, there's a consistency. So you learn the first one, you learn them all. And that's totally on purpose.
Well, yeah. Good stuff. So we talked a little bit about stakeholders and getting management in there at first. So both of you, I think this is great from both sides. How do you have any advice on how to get buy-in from stakeholders?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is to engage them as early as possible. I think especially from a change management perspective, is you want to build that awareness within them as early as possible. So, we kind of within change management, we say a person goes through kind of 5 stages. It's the awareness, the desire, the knowledge, the ability, and then the reinforcement. And you need to give people time and a chance to digest and prepare for the change. But also as well, this can end up leading them to building a personal attachment to it. And they want to actually see it succeed because they were involved so early on and they were considered so early on. But also as well, you want to make sure that you speak in their language. So this means kind of stating clear as day, tailored to the person, the what's in it for me. Because when you're speaking to a senior stakeholder, the what's in it for me is the bottom line. It's the finances, is how much am I going to save? What are we getting back? But, when you're speaking to the person who's the doer, in essence, for them, it's actually how much time am I getting back? Is this making my life easier? What benefits am I seeing? So you want to make sure that you adjust the language. And once you adjust it and show what's in it for me, people, they click straight away and they see it, they visualize it, and they begin to put themselves in the world post development. And they say, you know what, actually, you've got my support and I'm happy to talk and kind of move whatever I need to move for you. So, that's what I've seen is when I begin to show people, hey, I know this is your process. How about if I can reduce this or if I can improve this and so on, get a quick, kind of conversation going. And once they see an MVP, they begin to actually, buy in and they say, you know what, I'll convince what it is. And an example of that is we're working currently on a process for our assurance and compliance team. And from the onset or the offset, I involved the director and her authorizing engineer. So these are the 5 people that she relies on day in, day out. and they've been involved every step of the way, and they've been kept informed every step of the way. And now when I demoed them the end product, they said, okay, cool. How do I get this going straight away? Who do I need to speak to? What changes do you want me to do? And I said, I need you to go to site and tell people this is coming as of the 27th. Let's give people a little bit of time. So this is the process and this is how they have to do it. This is the link. And they're doing the work for me because it's their process. I'm not the one that's going to, deliver at the end of the day. They're the ones that are going to have to live with it. So I think, those are kind of some of the nuggets that I try to live by when I'm working on this.
Cool. Shay?
Yeah, I mean, Mo hit the nail on the head there. And especially with the desire element, we would find once the stakeholder has that desire to improve, you're in a great place. You kind of remove that big bang requirement as well, because a lot of organizations will be used to big bang systems. So in other words, on Monday, here's this massive system that's going on, where this can be brought in at stages. And it's all of a sudden, it went from 1 to 40 processes or 1 to 20 processes, and you barely even notice. So you're continuously getting bigger and bigger. I think the stakeholders love the hard benefits of like visibility of data, consistency. Consistency is massive. So we have another client, and the big sort of the stakeholder, the bane of their life was inconsistency of outputs. And what I mean is that the customer was being provided with outputs that didn't look the same every week. It was like, and from site to site wasn't always the same. Where when you have a process behind it and you have consistency of data, consistency of terminology and of output, the professionalism increases, and you get that happier staff, happier customers, which is the soft impact of all of this. And you've chipped away at it. So you haven't, as I say, you haven't given people that big bang effect. Small things like having QR codes on equipment, going up with the mobile device, it opens up the page, you fill in the information on the state of that piece of equipment at that time, just making it easier for staff to do. They don't have to bring that form around them, just have their mobile device, bang, off they go, put in that. So making all of that far simpler. Stakeholders love that.
Cool. Mo, can you tell us about the processes that Big Energy, I'm going to try to get this right, the processes Big Energies and Services has digitized, and then the benefits you've seen since digitizing those?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main ones that we've done quite recently is around our stock management. So in essence, the problem, if I give you kind of a brief of the problem, is we had an unmanned storeroom, which has no internet access on a site, kind of hidden in the basement. And the engineers would have to rely on a paper-based system where they would kind of, talk about what stock they took out, what the stock number was, and kind of fill out a long piece of paper. Obviously, no one really wants to do that every single time they want to take stock. So sometimes we would end up with stock discrepancies and shortages because people aren't abiding by the process that was out. So that means that when someone comes in and has to actually complete a job, they may be without the tools or the part that they need. And this would result kind of in a penalty because we have obviously our KPIs that we need to meet. And we need to make sure that we complete a job depending on its urgency by a certain amount of time. And also as well, the client actually raised this in the kind of yearly review and said, this is something that is really bugging us. Is there anything that you can do about it? And the site team as well also reached out. So Agathe, who works at the site, she reached out to our team and she said, hey, this is my problem. I need something and I need it quick. So what we were able to do is within FlowForma, we were able to develop the process itself, refine the process. And now, before the engineer takes stock out, grabs his phone, scans a barcode on his PDA on his device, this triggers an automatic population of the form. So it fills it with stuff like the part name, the part number, the current level of stock that's there. And the only manual thing that the engineer has to do is to specify how many items they've taken. Once they've reconnected to Wi-Fi or to mobile data, this then updates the information and synchronizes. So literally, it's, if you want to think about it, it's 3 buttons, 4. They click the FlowForma app, they click the camera, scan the QR code, that information comes up, they click how many stuff they're taking, and they click submit. That's it. So this has resulted in a much more accurate stock management, obviously, as you can imagine. And then we combine that with a automated alerting system. So when the stock now falls below a predefined number, that enables or notifies, the site management team and a group of people, and it enables them to order stuff. And this is done proactively. So again, this means fewer shortages, this means fewer financial penalties, and most importantly, better service of quality for our clients. Other examples that we have is we're digitizing our order forms. So we have a specific department known as the mobile team, and they are kind of our internal subcontractor. So they're a group of guys and girls and engineers that are in vans, and they go around the country and kind of support the sites where they can, particularly around gas safety. So obviously now when an order comes in, at the moment it's done via email. They fill in a Word document. It's all of this long stuff. It goes to the wrong person. They don't know what email address to send it to, all of that. That's now all been automated and digitized. And again, it's a few different buttons. You put your work order number, it already pulls out the job specification, what job is being done, who's assigned to that job. And then you just say, okay, this is what we need, and so on. And it goes to all the people. And then once it's done, it sends you a nice, beautiful document, which has every piece of information from the person that submitted the order to the moment it was approved. Vehicle checks, again, this is something which is paper-based. And also as our procurement team are using it for single works agreements. So there's a lot that we're beginning, and we kind of had a domino effect. Because, once one person kind of said, hey, I can see this benefit, more and more people started to hear about it. We started to do more internal demos. And then before you know it now, we're getting requests, coming in. And even our sister company, Bouygues UK, reached out and said, can we borrow some of your licenses? But obviously that's at a fee. But it's good fun. But the benefits, as I kind of alluded to a little bit, is financial mainly, and that appeases everyone, right from the operational person on the ground all the way up to the CEO. If you're hearing that you're saving money, you're not gonna complain. So that's been great. We've also seen time back for people. Again, you're not having to spend hours kind of sifting through 100 pieces of paper to say, okay, this person took 3 + 5 - 2, you now have time back to kind of focus on more added value tasks. And then the final benefit, which I think is a big thing for us, is digital appetite. People are beginning to see the value of FlowForma, as I said, and the wheels are beginning to turn. And again, I spoke about our CEO being quite involved. One day he just walked past and he came to me and he said, oh, what are you working on? What kind of projects are you working on? What can I see you doing? And I mentioned the stock management process, which has been digitized. And straight away he said, there's other sites that have the same issue. I need you to reach out to them and offer them this and say, this has come from, the CEO himself, and show them the benefits that have kind of come from there. But then he took it a step further and he actually said, how can we, once we begin to have more sites enrolled on this and starting to use this process, we're beginning to build a database of kind of the common items that are used from the stockroom, what items aren't used, so we can reduce our dead stock. We can reduce the materials that are just sitting on the shelves for 6 to 12 months. But also as well, we can begin to grant access in terms of regions. You can say, okay, each site, you can have access to the other site's stock list. And then you can say, okay, I haven't got this stock, but if I go and use this stock, I can see actually they've got this in stock. It's 5 miles away. It's easier for me to send an engineer, drive down 5 miles, pick up that stock, scan it, use the FlowForma app, because then you're keeping their system up to date, come back and use it for your job rather than waiting 2-3 days for your supplier to deliver that for you. So, that digital appetite and that kind of, this has done this, but we can actually take it to this level, or actually we need to include this in the form, and the changes are quick. It's 2 seconds for you to do something within the app. So yeah, it's been fantastic for us, really.
Shay, any quick follow-up on that one?
Yeah, it reminded me when Mo was speaking there, just again, one of the clients who they had a Six Sigma person within the organization who, apart from the obvious benefits of digitizing, said that the byproduct of digitizing the process was the education of the users on process, because they had a visibility now that in order to do this process, like even let's say it was the materials, that it had to go through 5-6 steps before they received the goods. So it educated them that it wasn't just, hey, submit this request and now I'm going to keep ringing to see where is it. I can see that it's at step 4. It's being checked in stock. It's been, you have that education among people, which reduces the queries and so on and so forth, because they now know the full visibility of this is how this process works. It's got 4 steps. It's got 5 steps. It's now with some such and such. You reduce that overhead just literally of what should I be doing now? Where is it? Have you
Sounds like it eliminates a lot of questions that people don't have to ask. It's right there.
And that also helps with new people. So again, the query, what do I do with this? Well, the process just takes care of it. You do your piece, which you've been notified about, submit, but gone. So that education, the turnaround time of people then who are like, if you had the sort of magic wand and you had all the processes digitized, the education is merely do your tasks. Here's your tasks. It's going to come to you all the time. Your step, because it's been predefined, preordained.
Very good. Well, gentlemen, we want to make sure we get to the guest Q&A, but I got one more follow-up for you, Mo. What's next on the agenda for Bouygues Energy and Services?
Good question. I think from a process automation perspective, it's kind of continuing to build on what we've been doing, capturing and digitizing kind of business processes that reach as many people as possible. And I think from a data perspective, it's about continuing to become more data mature, understanding where we can do more with our data, and how we can continue to make more data-informed decisions, that kind of add value to both our employees and our clients. I think, we always try to ensure that we walk before we can run, and we don't as well try and fix everything at once, because I think, it's very easy to say, hey, and let me bring this system because it will be able to capture whatever I need it to do, or it will be able to do this or do that or do that. And I think it's more than that. It's about understanding where the quick wins are and where the best value is going to come out of. But also as a business, what we're trying to do is to encourage our employees to become more data aware and data conscious, and become comfortable with what it means, to manage your data correctly, to capture data in a structured way, and kind of manage that and make sure you get the best information and the best decisions out of that.
Cool. We're on the timer now, guys, but let's get to some questions. And Mo, I've got a question from Mo for you.
Yes.
So yeah, are you typing these in yourself? No.
I wanted to boost engagement, so
right.
No.
Logged in 8 times today.
Yes.
So did FlowForma shrink your tech stack? And if you could share how the stack looks now.
So it's a good question. It's a question that my technical knowledge may be limited to, but previously we were using an array of different kind of applications and languages to develop anything that we wanted to. Like I said, we were kind of using the Office 365 tools that's still being used. We also have our CAFM system, which is Maximo, where you're able to kind of develop and code stuff into there to capture information. With the addition of FlowForma, we're able to rely on that less because the time it takes and the cost it takes for our internal information systems team to develop something on Maximo is too great. And we're using FlowForma to get those really quick wins, that we need. So it hasn't reduced it drastically, but it has reduced it enough that people are coming to us now rather than to other departments.
Cool. Shay, you got a 1-minute timer on this one. How quickly,
Okay.
right, do construction companies onboard and start seeing business outcomes?
Wow. Okay, so 1 minute. The quick and easy answer is immediately, but it's not actually immediately because you're going to have, we'd always say to you on the first process, get it right. So get the first process right, but you're talking within a few weeks. If in preparation, if you know the first process, and always say to you, don't go for an overly complicated one at the start. Go for one that you understand, that is easy for users to understand, because it's all about their buy-in. Go for that one immediately. All data that is gathered correctly and all process digitized have an impact. Now, another quick answer on that one is you don't know sometimes at the start of a project which process is going to have the most impact. That's why digitizing a lot is important, because some ones will surprise you as to which ones have the biggest impact.
Thank you. I'm going to throw another one at you. Does FlowForma allow strategic objectives and initiatives to be rolled out through the platform?
Yeah, so I mean, if I'm reading that correctly, it's really we would use, and a lot of organizations would use FlowForma nearly as a blanket over existing systems, so it can talk to existing systems.
Okay.
If you've got initiatives across the board for different collaborations, etc., it's really straightforward then to pull data from different systems and have everybody on the same wavelength. Even from a simplistic point of view, one of the most common ones from a HR point of view are about your performance appraisals. So there's objectives straight away. We do a lot with EU agencies, use a lot with that, so that there's full visibility of how people are progressing.
Cool. Mo, back on the hot seat. You got literally 57 seconds.
Yeah.
Could you also please tell the audience if external partners and clients are able to collaborate as well, and how engaged they can be?
Yeah, absolutely. They're able to access the forms. They're able to get involved and kind of input their data or input the information that they need to input. It's quite simple. Again, it's all dependent on how you set up your process. And Shay, correct me if I'm wrong, but for example, if you had an element where once a certain piece of information was completed on part 1 of the form, that can then be emailed, depending on how you configure it, directly to the external client with a message that you've kind of created. They would click the link, they would fill in their part, click submit, you can then get notified, or the next person in the journey would kind of get notified.
Yeah, that's it exactly. They could be part of the process and they only see their step. So you could have a 5-step process, but they only see, say, step 2.
Very good. Well, thank you, gentlemen. And those of you that have offered Q&A in this, I'm sure we're going to have another session or something in a way of answering you. We'll get back to you, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in just a second. Now, your expertise is appreciated, gentlemen. Thank you. It was fascinating for me. I used to be in construction back in the day. Thanks to everyone for attending. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I do. Have your phone ready to snag that QR code in a minute. But let's do a quick summary for some hot points. Don't be afraid of change. Be a champion. Get those other people involved. Unlock the benefits of citizen development, empowering your workforce. Start with the obvious and launch quickly. Focus on adoption rates. Digitize for the outcomes that you really want to have, and then integrate your DPA pool with existing systems. know that a representative from FlowForma will follow up with you. And so you'll get the chance to receive free advice from subject experts. Now, there's the QR code for you. That will take you to a page where you can sign up for FlowForma's free 14-day trial. So scan that QR code or note the URL that I think we're going to, yeah, there it is on the screen right at the bottom, flowforma.com/trial. Thank you again. That's our close.
Thanks, Grant. Thanks, Mo.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.